meets up with an area or even another street called the Strand. This is another interesting area, and we were talking about the divider earlier.
Yeah, Strand is basically a beach.
It's a beach, exactly, and so this is all connected with that microstate, as it's called, of City of London, or the City of London Corporation. It's a privately owned corporation. They have different kind of pieces of land throughout London, mainly in the center area. And they own many of the places that we're talking about here. Just outside St. Paul's Cathedral that we were talking about earlier is Paternoster Square. Paternoster basically means our father, and this is a privately owned piece of land. And we were told that we couldn't film in there, actually.
Yeah, pretty courteous.
Yeah. Well, they were kind when they asked us not to film, at least. We've seen horrible examples of how rude some of these people can be.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting to see both sides of this. As we're just looking at a YouTube clip here with all the CCTV cameras filming us, then, in a way.
Yeah.
And this is the state, then, I guess, filming its citizens.
Yeah.
But you can understand if you walk into someone's private property and start filming. I certainly wouldn't like to have someone come in here and film me, basically. So it's understandable if you're filming on a private property, that they can tell you to stop filming, basically.
Right, and I was surprised that they didn't even, they could, I guess, confiscate the tapes or whatever they want to.
Yeah, and we were allowed to sort of film from the outside in, but not stand in the square or in.
And I think the guy who asked us, he was not a police, he was like a area controller. They have some word for it, I don't know.
Security guard.
Yeah,
perhaps.
something like that. He came up with one of those illuminated jackets and told us that we couldn't film. But that was after about 5 minutes we've been in there and filming, so I think he kind of sneaked at us at first and then said, oh, okay, let's hold off and see how long these guys are in here. But he was actually kind of kind, so it's a little bit about your own mentality and how you respond to some of these people. So that was pretty interesting in a way that we couldn't film there, because the Paternoster Square was a private area owned by the corporation, the City of London Corporation, and so we just took about 20 or 30 steps through Temple Bar Gate. This is an old kind of little gate. Basically, we ended up at the St. Paul's churchyard, and there we were allowed to film, no problem there. And this is a place where 4 different lodges, Freemasonic lodges, were actually formed under one. This was back in 1717, and they were forming the United Grand Lodge of England. This took place at the Goose and Gridiron Ale House, another bar, right there in the backyard of St. Paul's Cathedral. And unfortunately we couldn't find any remnant of this. I read afterwards that the City of London Corporation actually has erected a blue plaque, blue lodge, near this location at the original inn bar. But we couldn't find it at the time, but that's apparently right there. And what we can say about St. Paul's Cathedral, I guess, is that everything kind of spans out from St. Paul's Cathedral. Many of these interesting places. We have the College of Arms right there, very close by. That's kind of the governing body of heraldry, and the Queen of England delegates heraldic authority.
Yeah, where James Bond went when he got his fake heraldry.
Yeah. And then you have the Salvation Army, very close to there, another Templar organization with connections to the Red Cross. Very close to the area around St. Paul's, you have also Blackfriars Bridge that we mentioned before, where the River Fleet, one end of that, you can see that right below Blackfriars Bridge. And that's where the, quote, God's banker, unquote, was found hanged. Roberto Calvi, he was the head, I guess, of Banco Ambrosiano. He was dealing the money of the Vatican, basically, but he was also within the Italian P2 Lodge, the Masonic P2 Lodge of Licio Gelli, and he was found hanged there.
Was he hanged upside down?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Not a tarot thing going on there, but I think he was hanged around the neck with bricks in his pocket or something, emerged halfway into the water, something similar. And that was on June 18th, 1982. A postman found him right under the bridge. As I said, he's been a member of Licio Gelli's P2 Lodge. And interestingly enough, they refer to themselves as Frater Neri, or the Black Friars.
The fraternity.
Yeah. So understandably, this has led to suggestions that Calvi was murdered, and his body was left hanging under the Blackfriars Bridge as a Masonic warning, or a kind of a symbol associated with the word Blackfriars or Masonry. Then you have the Millennium Bridge, very close to St. Paul's Cathedral. There's a whole, millennium thing going on here, or MM 2000. Mary Magdalene, Mother Mary. We don't need to go into all that route right now, but it's interesting,
Yep.
The next area we kind of can focus on if we continue from Fleet Street is Queen Victoria Street and King William Street. All of this kind of converge at the nave of the financial system of City of London. This is basically where the Royal Stock Exchange and the Bank of England is located. Bank of England is actually on a street called Threadneedle Street. And that's very close to Lombard Street, but it's all within the same kind of area, the same vicinity. There's a lot of bank throughout the entire area. We can even see HSBC logos everywhere. That's the Hudson Bay Company, a British trading company, a very old company that actually acted as a government in parts of North America, especially in Canada then. Before the European-based colonies got over there, or some kind of nation-state existed.
And further down, we have the Scientology. I don't know if it's the British headquarters or something. I'm not sure, but pretty interesting that it's a big building, and you have some information that sort of didn't buy that building cheaply.
No, this was on Queen Victoria Street, a bit further down, just from the main kind of financial area or triangle up there. And the building is a former Bible center. We basically stumbled across this when we walked around there. And apparently they got the building back in 2006 to a handsome sum of £23 million. And millions more apparently been spent on revamping the building according to their own, Hubbard standards or whatever. I don't know. But it's pretty interesting that they're right there in the middle of the establishment, as it were. I can't remember who said it, but someone on our program mentioned that there was some kind of dispute going on between Scientology and the British banking system or the monarchy. And if they ended up with a headquarters right in this location, there's not much more you can say about it, really. They got to be in on it. They've let them into that area.
Yeah.
Paid up, and they're there.
They're nice, friendly enemies, I guess.
Yep. And getting back to the financial triangle, they have a statue of Wellington right there in the triangle square, with names actually of people who fought and died in many of the wars, World War I, World War II primarily. But these guys apparently belong to an army of the City of London. So they actually have a privately owned army as well. I didn't know that.
No, you didn't.
From Queen Victoria Street, there's another side street called Walbrook, and we stumbled over this very interesting old monument right there. This is just outside Temple Court. That's a quite big and modern building. That might just be a kind of a faction, if you will, of the Temple Court. But right in front of there, in their little garden, if you will, we actually stumbled over the Temple of Mithras. This was very interesting, a Roman temple whose ruins were discovered during a time where they were rebuilding at the site back in 1954. And just to mention a few lines here about the site, this was excavated by W.F. Grimes, the director of Museum of London, in 1954. And the temple, initially hoped to have been an early Christian church, was built in the mid-3rd century and dedicated to Mithras and perhaps jointly to several deities popular among Roman soldiers. Then it was rededicated, probably to Bacchus or Dionysus, in the 4th century. Found within the temple, where they had been carefully buried at the time of its rededication, were finely detailed 3rd century white marble likeness of Minerva, Mercury, the guide of the souls of the dead, and the syncretic gods Mithra and Serapis. Those were imported from Italy. And among the sculptures the archaeologists found was a head of Mithras himself, recognizable from his Phrygian cap. The base of the head is tapered to fit a torso which was not preserved. Another discovery was a marble relief about 1/2 meter long of Mithras in the act of killing the astral bull, the Tower Octony, that was central to Mithraism as a crucifixion is to Christianity. So there's a whole zodiac or astrological theme going on here, and I think it's interesting that Mithras is slaying the bull, and right in the same vicinity now we have the Royal Exchange, where they talk about the concept of the bull market, you know,
yeah,
and even the bear market. The question if there's an astrological reference going on here, and I would not doubt that it is.
Interesting to find this temple in the middle of this modern city.
Yeah,
basically something you expect to find in a hillside or something out in the in the forest
in
or
nowhere,
something. Nowhere. And this is smack in the middle of sort of been built. The city has been built around.
It's a Roman old temple basically, and that kind of also shows the connection between the Roman Empire and the British Empire, that they're really kind of just transformed throughout the years and just built a new Templar economic structure right above the same right at the same area basically. And close to this is also where we stumble upon the London Stone. I've not heard about this before, but apparently this is a stone that is said to be the place from which the Romans measured all distances in Britannia. Whether or not this is true, the London Stone was for many hundreds of years recognized as the symbolic authority at the heart of the City of London. It was the place that deals were forged and oaths were sworn. It was also the point from which official proclamations were made. So the whole entire area is kind of a Templar, Roman, British monarchy, religious type area, where so many interesting things are happening.
Yeah.
We also went by Buckingham Palace during the first day we spent in London, and this is of course another interesting place with a lot of different gates and entrances surrounding the area, just outside the main Buckingham Palace entrance or gate, and this is called the Queen Victoria Monument.
It's a water monument, basically.
Exactly, it's kind of a maritime, continuing on that thread, maritime seafaring monument. They have, surrounding this monument, they have all different entrances and gates that have different names of different parts of the world placed upon these gates or entrances. You can find South Africa, West Africa there. Also Canada has an entire gate, I guess you can call it. The Malay states, Newfoundland, and of course Australia, New Zealand. These are all the Commonwealth countries, sort of like a monument to all the places that the British Empire has controlled, basically. And the Queen Victoria Monument is interesting in itself. As you mentioned, Fredik, they have a lot of water in there running. They have also on four kind of the cardinal points, they have 4 boats or ships going out. Even surrounding that area on the light poles, they have boats. It's a whole maritime thing going on there.